Hey, what's up guys? So Brian here over at the Let's Explore Life YouTube channel, and it is the Memorial Day weekend and also my girlfriend's birthday. And for the weekend, I want to go ahead and plan a nice little getaway for us to kind of go ahead and get away from the city a little bit. And so a little bit of a side story. I was getting ready to do my morning yoga routine program, and one of the advertisements started popping up. And in this advertisement, they were showcasing some of these beautiful waterfalls, beautiful landscapes, and just beautiful like scenic environments that you would see like, okay, where can I go to actually check these places out? And after the advertisement was done, it was kind of like an infomercial for like Vancouver basically. And so what I ended up looking, next is like, Google, top 10 waterfalls in Vancouver. And some of the places that they ended up mentioning were places like Elk Falls and Lower Myra Falls. And so those are actually located in Vancouver Island, which is actually where we are today. And so for the Memorial Weekend holiday, I want to go ahead and go to a place that both of us have never been to before. Because we've been to places like the Oregon coast, we've been to like pretty much almost all the parts of like Washington, and of course things like Glacier National Park in Montana is a little bit too far for the holiday. I want to go ahead and go somewhere where we both have never been to before. And you know what, Vancouver Island's about 2 to 3 hours away from where we're living in the state of Washington. Perfect place to go. So before we start talking about this little awesome adventure we're about to participate in, go ahead and make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button, and I'd really appreciate it. So for our first day, if you guys are not familiar, Vancouver Island / Victoria Island is basically in the southern western part of Vancouver or northwest of the state of Washington. And you do need to basically take a ferry to get there. And there are actually two ways you can get to Victoria Island or Vancouver Island, depending on what you want to do. So the way I planned this trip out is that, day one, I want to go ahead and go to Victoria because two things. Victoria is primarily known for one, Butchart Garden, two, seafood. And so for this day, I want to go ahead and start off our trip over at Victoria. We want to go ahead and check these places out before we start making our way up north towards these outdoor activities that I had planned for both of us. So depending on where you guys are coming from, like in Seattle or in the state of Washington, there are two ways you guys can get to Victoria Island. Now the first one you guys can do is basically take the Port Angeles ferry. And for those of you guys who live in Washington, for example, you guys know that Port Angeles is basically on the Olympic Peninsula side. And if you're coming from Seattle, this can be a little bit of a pain to get to. You can either take the ferry from Seattle to Bainbridge Island over to Port Angeles, which you have to again take another ferry from Port Angeles all the way to Victoria Island, or you guys could do what we ended up doing, was basically taking the 5 freeway north all the way up towards the basically the Canadian border and making our way down towards the hopefully I'm pronouncing this right, the Sawasan ferries. I would highly recommend, if you guys do plan on doing the ferry route to Victoria Island, definitely go ahead and take the Sawasan ferry terminal, because it's basically, you have a lot more options to get there. What I mean by this is that, there's a ferry basically every hour, as opposed to if you go towards the Port Angeles side, I think there was only a limited amount of ferries and they come in basically 1.5 to 2 hour intervals. And so if you basically miss the first ferry, you're basically waiting quite a bit, and you may not even get the next one because if you've never taken a ferry in Seattle before, or just taken a ferry in general, it's not like you have to get there generally pretty early. Like for example, if you have a plan to take the 10 o'clock ferry, ideally you want to probably get there by like 8:30, because there's usually a line to get to that 10 o'clock ferry, or people have already made reservations to get on that 10 o'clock ferry. So if you haven't basically gone there early, you're probably going to end up taking the next one, which is the 11 o'clock one, which is basically what we end up doing, right? Because we had initially had plans to take the 11 o'clock ferry, and we arrived at the ferry terminal at around 10:45, we'll say, right? It took us 10:45, and by then I already knew we weren't going to make the 10 o'clock ferry, or sorry, the 11 o'clock ferry. So what we ended up having to do was actually taking the 1 o'clock ferry, because the 12 o'clock ferry was already pretty full. The fact that it was already an hour and a half, give or take hour and a half prior. So highly recommend, if you guys do plan on taking a ferry and you want to maximize the day, get to the Canadian border early. That way there's no line to get into Canada, making your way down towards the Sawasan ferry terminal, and just get there as soon as possible, or go ahead and make reservations and book them online. So after taking a ferry, we arrived basically at Schwartz Bay over at the, northern part of Victoria Island, and we basically made our way to our first stop, towards Butchart Gardens. And from the Schwartz Bay to Butchart Garden takes about 25 to 30 minutes. Just go ahead and Google Maps it on, find your directions. So I'd highly recommend booking your Butchart Garden tickets online. Just make it quicker, pay online. Once you get to the gate, show them the tickets, boom, you're done. The hours are from I believe 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So when we got, basically when we disembarked from the ferry, it was about 2:40 and we arrived at Butchart Garden at about 3:10. And honestly, 2 hours is more than plenty of time to basically cover everything. We were able to actually, go from start, make our way all the way down towards I think it's called the Sunken Gardens, something like that. They have different names for different areas of the garden. Make our way all the way down towards make our way up towards the Japanese garden or towards the Italian side. And that's pretty much it. You basically do a nice little loop. They actually have an area where it says, start here. You make your way all the way up around the garden and just taking a look at various botanicals, flowers, things like that. And it's a really, really beautiful thing. And the one thing that I actually do want to try and do next time this comes around is coming by to check out Butchart Garden during Christmas time, because I was looking at some of the pictures that they advertise, and it's really, really beautiful. So I highly recommend, if you guys have not been to Butchart Garden before, definitely go and check them out, because that's basically one of the primary reasons why most people end up going to Victoria Islands. After finishing Butchart Garden, we spent about 2 hours and basically left at around 5 o'clock, which is their closing time. I want to go ahead and find something else for us to do before we start heading over to Victoria downtown area. And what I ended up finding was a really, really cool outdoor getaway that pretty much highly recommend everyone actually doing, is going to a place called Mount Douglas Viewpoint, which is about 25-minute drive from Butchart Garden, just heading southeast of that location. And one of the main hallmarks of Mount Douglas Viewpoint is the fact that you get, so I have to go and Google Maps this, you get a beautiful, beautiful vantage point of Cordova Bay, as well as over the horizon, Victoria downtown. And highly recommend everybody coming during the sunset time, which is, it's about Memorial Day weekend, end of May. Sunset's about, give or take, 7:30, because beautiful, beautiful horizons. We had beautiful clouds today. Unfortunately, we didn't come during sunset time, but if you guys do come during sunset time, you might not be able to find parking at the top of the hill. And the reason why I say this is pretty important, because that hill, if you park on the bottom, which is basically the main parking lot, the hill is just straight up. It's actually, we were driving up and we just see people. It's a good place to exercise actually. So, but more than likely you're not going to find parking depending on what time you get there. So you may get lucky, but otherwise, if you guys have the energy, you guys have the will and the determination, definitely come by and check out Mount Douglas Viewpoint during sunset, because you are not going to regret the picture and just the vantage point that you guys are going to get. So as I mentioned before, Victoria Islands, known for their seafood, and we want to go ahead and find a nice little location or restaurant to have good seafood. And one of my criteria for seafood is, if I can cook the salmon better than a restaurant, probably not a good place, right? And I want to go ahead and find a restaurant that doesn't do the typical salmon fillet, cod, halibut fillet. So we ended up going to a location called Ferris Oyster Bar, which is basically right next to their Ferris. They have two, it's a little bit confusing. There's 2 or 3 different Ferrises all within the same location. Make sure you guys do not go to the Ferris Grill and Garden Patio, although the food there is probably pretty good because they're all basically under the same establishment. Make sure you guys go check out the Upstairs Seafood and Oyster Bar Ferris, all right? But they also do have a tapas location, which is called Pedro Negro, which is basically a tapas place to go and eat. We ended up not having reservations, but we were fortunate enough to actually go ahead and just do a walk-in. Didn't have to wait at all. They had open seating, and this was at about a 6:15, 6:20 p.m. So not quite peak dinner time yet, but basically starting to pack in, because the minute we sat in, about 10 minutes later, it started to fill up. So we got really lucky. I mean, today was just a really, really lucky day. So if you guys go ahead and take a look at the menu, pretty simple menu, which I personally love because it makes decision making a lot easier. And so what we ended up ordering for our meals is, I'm gonna go and look up the menu because I didn't quite memorize the names. So we ended up ordering 3 appetizers and 1 main meal. So for our 3 appetizers, we ended up ordering the grilled Humboldt squid, the smoked fish plate, as well as the scallop crudo. For our main meal, we end up ordering the arroz meloso. It's basically like a paella dish. And so I want to go ahead and break down the 3 appetizer dishes first, and then we'll go ahead and talk about the arroz meloso. So let's first go ahead and talk about the grilled Humboldt squid. All right, it is basically seasoned with an alberquina olive oil, caper, berry, piquillo pepper, black olive, and vinaigrette. So the first thing you guys are gonna notice when you get the squid is just it comes with a large slice of just squid. So I guess this is what Humboldt squids look like. They're basically nice little large fillets. You could definitely taste the smokiness. It's juicy and tender, so I highly recommend if you guys get it. It also comes with like this seasonal dressing. It's like an orange and black seasonal dressing. So again, the first thing you're gonna notice is that the Humboldt squid is just massive. It's basically enough for 2 people to share equally and be satisfied with just the amount of portions that you guys are gonna get. Make sure when you guys eat the squid, dip it in that orange and black ink looking sauce because it complements the squid really well. And you're just gonna notice the smoky flavor and just how juicy and how tender the squid really is. So if you guys are looking to like getting the pupusa or the octopus or some type of like squid, obviously, definitely go get ahead. I highly recommend getting the Humboldt squid, guys. So the next dish that we ended up ordering was the scallop crudo, which basically comes in a compressed green apple, sesame seeds, alberquina olive oil, and cucumber and ginger. Personally, I thought that this was okay. I mean, generally I do like scallops, but this came in a more of a colder dish. You could definitely taste the cucumber, and you know they were a little bit stingy on the scallops. So it was like maybe 3 pieces, 3 or 4, like kind of medium-sized pieces, but they're not like the typical like large scallops that you guys normally are used to if you go to like a restaurant like Ivar's or some type of like seafood platter place, right, where the squid, the scallops are actually pretty massive and they sear it. Doesn't come like that. They're more of like a small, like medium-sized scallop, and it comes cold. So it wasn't technically my favorite dish among all the things that we ordered, but if you guys are just wanting something that's like scallop, definitely go ahead and get the scallop crudo. So last but not least was the appetizer that we ended up ordering. So we ended up ordering this smoked fish plate, and I have to say this was probably really good, because if you look at all the other tables that are around us, this is one of the more popular dishes that a lot of people end up ordering. And it comes with basically different types of salmon. I think it came with like 2 types of salmon. One was a candied salmon, one was a normal salmon, like smoked salmon, tuna, as well as it's like some type of like octopus. It was like a circular round octopus, and it's actually really cool. It comes with like this squid ink cracker that I highly recommend everyone try. You know, squid ink is kind of gross for some people, but in this case, it tastes like a regular cracker with a little bit of an ink sauce. And I highly recommend every time you get one of your smoked salmon pieces, dip it in that little black smoked black salt that it comes with on the side of the platter. It complements the salmon really well. Highly recommend everyone, again, highly recommend everyone getting the smoked fish plate. So again, for our main course, we end up ordering what's called the arroz meloso, which basically comes with grilled local octopus, shellfish, scallops, prawns, paella rice, and squid ink aioli. And if you guys do end up ordering this main course, just keep in mind that it takes about 20 to 30 minutes to prepare, just because of basically that's how like paella is made. Paella it's basically like a Spanish dish from Spain. It does take quite a bit of time to prepare. So if you guys are really hungry and you want your food right away, probably not a good idea to order this dish. But one of the reasons why this dish is highly recommended, personally, is because of just how creamy and how succulent and how juicy everything comes with. Because the one thing you're gonna notice is that the minute you put it in your mouth, it's fresh, right? Like, it doesn't come out dry. It's buttery, it's smooth, and it's just creamy. And the one thing you guys are gonna notice is that when the flavors, like it's basically cooked in a heavy like clam and mussel sauce, so the rice does taste a little clammy, tastes a little bit muscly, but that's okay. You know, that's the reason why you're there. You wanted seafood, you go ahead and order seafood. And it also comes with this squid ink aioli, which I highly recommend everyone go ahead and just get some of that big gooey black sauce, dip it on your rice or dip it on the octopus that it comes with, and just shove it in your mouth and enjoy the flavors of the sea. Really good. Highly recommend everyone ordering it. So after finishing Ferris, we want to go ahead and check out some of the other options for like dessert, because I'm pretty sure Ferris has really good dessert as it is, right? I'm pretty sure they have like good creme brulees or good like chocolate mousse cake or something like that. But we want to go ahead and try something different, because that's what it's all about, right? When you're traveling, it's about trying something new. So as we were walking around like Victoria waterfront, Victoria downtown, we ended up stumbling along a place called Beaver Tails. And you're gonna notice that when you take a look at what kind of like menu option selections that they have, the pastry that it comes with basically is shaped like a beaver tail, hence the name Beaver Tail, right? And so what we ended up ordering was called the brownie. I think it's called brownie. If you like Nutella, if you're a chocolate fan, you like Nutella, you like Oreo cream type of thing, cookies and cream, I would highly recommend everyone getting the brownie, because it basically is a hazelnut spread, right? It's like Nutella spread with brownie cookies, as well as like this white chocolate chip that's like melted on top. And the minute you shove it in your mouth, take a bite, shove it, all the flavors of like cacao, chocolate, hazelnut will just bombard your taste buds, and really good. I mean, if you guys don't want that, get something else. But otherwise, get the brownie Beaver Tail. And so, you know, once we were done with our dessert, the one nice thing about Victoria is just the fact that it's such a cute little town. Well, you know, as me and my girlfriend were making our way up towards our final destination, towards Nanaimo for the evening, we were trying to come up with an idea of like, what does Victoria Island kind of remind me of? And I was trying to think, like, does it remind me of San Diego? Does it remind me of like Seattle even? And I was like, no. You know, the one nice thing about Victoria is that it's a unique place in and of itself, and you're gonna notice that the minute you kind of walk around the area. And so I highly recommend, depending on where you guys are, depending how long you guys are staying, make sure you guys spend some time walking around the Victoria waterfront, because you're gonna notice, especially during sunset time, which is when we were spending our time walking around, you're gonna get such a beautiful sunset, just due to the fact that, you know, you're facing west. You got all of the ships, the harbors, the yachts, the speedboats just there in the marina, along with the Parliament building, which really complements the sky and just that skyline, right? So if you guys aren't in a big rush to like go to your next destination or do something, I highly recommend you know, just spending some time in Victoria, just enjoying some of the like the scenic like town, some of the local shops, and of course the dessert, the teas, the coffees, the bobas, and like their Chinatown district, which we honestly didn't have time for, but next time. So as I had mentioned before, you know, Vancouver Island has a lot of great places for outdoor activities, and particularly waterfalls. And so after visiting our trip from Victoria downtown, we want to start making our way up towards Nanaimo, where we were going to be staying for the evening. And that's basically where our trip is going to kind of start from here, is that, you know, once we are in Nanaimo, we want to go ahead and make our way up towards Campbell River again to start seeing Elk Falls, and eventually make our way down towards Lower Myra Falls. And you know, those are the only two activities that I had planned for today, but I want to go ahead and see what else we could do around the area. And a quick Google search on Google Maps, if, you know, for example, if you type in like waterfalls or just falls, all of a sudden you start to see a population, you start to populate a lot of various locations of where you could see awesome and beautiful waterfalls. So some of the places that we end up checking out are places like Englishman River Falls, as well as Little Qualicum Falls, and also made a stop over towards Cameron Lake Point. And I want to say that, you know, between these two waterfalls they're basically about 20 minutes from each other, so it's not really that far away. So definitely go ahead and check them out. And I do highly recommend just go ahead and making sure that you do the loop. So for example, if you go towards the Englishman River Falls, they do have what's called the Upper Loop Falls and the Lower Loop Falls. And you could go ahead and walk this whole trailhead, which takes about half an hour, give or take. It's not very hard, it's not very long, but you're more likely gonna spend some time there just because of just, you know, looking at the waterfalls, taking some pictures, and just enjoying the beautiful sounds of nature and the crags and all that. So you're more than likely going to spend maybe at least 45 minutes total, just really enjoying those scenic environments. And after visiting the Englishman River Falls and the Lake Qualicum Falls, we want to go ahead and stop by a place called Cameron Lake Viewpoint, primarily just to go ahead and take a quick picture of this lake, because they have a lot of areas where you can kind of park your car, walk along the shore, and just take a nice, beautiful shot of just Cameron Lake. So after we went ahead and finished these 2 or 3 attractions, we want to go ahead and start making our way up towards Lower Myra Falls. Now, initially, I had a choice, right? Where if we're making our way from Nanaimo, or rather after visiting these 2 locations, we could either choose to stop by Elk Falls first, or we could go ahead and make our way towards the farther location, which is Lower Myra Falls. Now, depending on how you guys are feeling, meaning, do I want to drive an hour to an hour and a half from my location, is where I would say, yes, you should definitely do it, because that's what I was kind of thinking. After visiting, again, Lake Qualicum Falls, we want to go ahead and make our way up towards these 2 destinations, which is the Elk Falls and the Lower Myra Falls. And because we were going to go ahead and visit Lower Myra Falls first, we figured let's go ahead and do Elk Falls on the way back. And again, Lower Myra Falls is pretty far out of the way, right? From Elk Falls and from Campbell River. It's another basically hour to an hour and a half from Elk Falls. So it's like, again, do you want to do the drive? And one of the reasons why I highly recommend you guys end up doing the drive is because of the fact that once you start making your way up towards the Gold River Highway and you start making your way down south towards along the lake of Butte Lake, I have to say it's a beautiful, beautiful, fantastic drive that you don't even think about the fact that it's going to take you an hour to drive there, because you got trees on the left. You got the Butte Lake Falls, or Butte Lake on the right side, and just beautiful scenic snowy capped mountains right in front of you. It just makes you feel like, this is such an enjoyable drive that I am not even going to, it's not going to bother me, right? It's a beautiful, gorgeous drive. So highly recommend going towards Lower Myra Falls. And the one thing I do want to say is that, when we did make our way towards Lower Myra Falls, or basically starting to approach Lower Myra Falls, there's not going to be any signs or designations that show, turn left here, turn right here. So you guys need to go ahead and set your GPS location to Myra Falls or Lower Myra Falls. And that way you guys know where to make that right turn or left turn, depending on where you guys are coming from. And the parking spot for Myra Falls is a little limited, so it could fit about, give or take, we'll say about 10 cars max. If people are friendly and they give each other enough space, about 10 cars max. So hopefully you won't have a trouble finding parking. But once you do, you start making your way down towards Lower Myra Falls, and I have to say, gorgeous, gorgeous waterfall, highly worth it, highly recommended. So if you guys decide, I don't want to spend my time doing, let's say, English River, let's say, for example, you guys don't want to go ahead and do English Riverman Falls, or you just want to go ahead and skip Lake Qualicum Falls, and you want to spend the majority of your time over at Lower Myra Falls, highly recommend doing so, because there's a great place of you could literally just lounge around, sit here, maybe set up a small, probably no campfires, because that's what the sign says, but you guys could go ahead and set like a picnic, maybe bring some wine, some, coolers and all that beer, and just sit back and relax. Because when you take a look at the waterfall and the location in and of itself, simply marvelous and simply just beautiful. So I highly recommend, definitely make that drive towards Lower Myra Falls, because you guys will not regret it. And so after visiting and spending at least an hour at Myra Falls, just really enjoying the environment, just enjoying the sound of the waterfall along the rocks, we want to go ahead and make our way up towards Elk Falls. And do want to remind people that, because right now it's about the spring going towards the summer, sunset is pretty late here. So we got to the Elk Falls at around 6:40, so it was still very, very bright outside, so we really didn't have to worry about is it going to get too dark. And I guess, the fact that we saw all of these other waterfalls already, Englishman River Trails, or Englishman River Falls, Lake Qualicum, Lower Myra Falls, I kind of felt like Elk Falls was kind of okay, after seeing everything else that we were able to see. The one cool feature about Elk Falls is the fact that they do have the suspension bridge that you could actually overlook and see, with a great, fantastic view of just how massive Elk Falls is. Now, I'm a little bit scared of heights, so I'm not gonna lie. When I start crossing the suspension bridge and I start making my way up towards the middle parts of it, and you kind of start feeling a little bit of that shakiness, it can be a little scary. So I'm not gonna lie that my legs were feeling a little shaky, but it's a really cool experience if you guys aren't really too afraid of heights and just really want to go ahead and just make another, check it off the list of other places to see while you're here at Vancouver Island. So after finishing up all of our waterfall trip, taking a view at Elk Falls, visiting Lower Myra Falls, so before heading back to Nanaimo, where we're going to take our ferry from Duke's Point all the way towards Tawasan, we want to go ahead and check out a nice little breakfast place. And we ended up finding a really cool waffle place called Whistling Waffles, which is in Campbell River. And I do want to say is that, generally finding a good waffle place can be a little bit challenging because let's face it, sometimes if you go to a nice looking waffle place, the waffles can be really dry or it could be really crispy or like in this case kind of a little bit dry. But in this particular place at Whistling Waffles, they actually made their waffles really, really well. And I ended up ordering the berry waffles and Tiffany ended up ordering the banana Nutella waffle. And I have to say, like if you take a look at how much fruit they give you on the berry waffles, like a lot of strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, and blackberries for the price of like 14 Canadian dollars, I'd say definitely well worth it. So if you guys are looking for a nice little breakfast place to just get some good waffles, go ahead and check out Whistling Waffles. So after finishing breakfast at Whistling Waffles, we want to go ahead and start making our way down toward Nanaimo because we had a 3 o'clock ferry that we had to go ahead and catch. We decided to go ahead and take the Oceanic Scenic route, which is basically Highway 19A, and I highly recommend doing that if you guys have some time along your trip, just to drive along the coast and just see some of the seaside with the ocean, the water, and some of the town. So it's really, really cool experience if you guys have some time to do that. And now, one of the things that I didn't know is that Nanaimo has this thing called what's called a Nanaimo bar, which is basically fudge on the top, custard in the middle, and like a coconut cracker on the bottom. You can get in a couple of places over in Nanaimo and just go ahead and do a quick Google search for like the Nanaimo bar, find a place, and they actually have this one area which is called the Red Bakery, which is apparently really known for like their pastries. Apparently, if you go take a look at their website, they have like this Oreo cookie crumble cheesecake that looks really, really fantastic. But they also, of course, sell Nanaimo bars there, and I could only describe it like when you bite into it, it's really, really creamy, right? Because of the fudge, you got the custard, but the fact that you have that coconut breading on the bottom adds an awesome like complement to basically the dessert. So if you guys have some time, you want some more food to eat, go ahead and get yourself a Nanaimo bar. And so one of the other reasons why we want to go ahead and make our way down towards Vancouver again is because they have what's called the Richmond Night Market, which basically extends from April 29th all the way up to October 10th, something like that. Just go ahead and look at it on their website. And it's basically open only on the weekend. So from Friday up to like Sunday, and I think the hours are like from 7 to like 11 or 7 to 12. Just go ahead and check up on their website just to confirm. So let me explain to you what a night market is. You guys have no idea what that is. So in a lot of the Asian countries, so for example like Thailand, Taiwan, like China, they have what's called night markets or like street food. And they basically vendor out different types of like food. So for example like fried squid, fried skewer, boba tea, and all of these other things that are unique to like Asia, right? If you type in, Thailand night markets, that's what you do. You go to Thailand, get some food at their night markets. So in Richmond, they also have this thing called the Richmond Night Market. And I went to this event a couple of years ago. I think it was like 2017 or 2018, something like that. And I remember the experience to be a little more appealing, right? So I do want to say, before you guys head to Richmond Night Market, there are 2 ways you guys can go ahead and get entrance into the night market. The first one is what they have is what it's called the Zoom Pass, where you pay about 35 Canadian dollars and you get a pass for 6. So it's like a stamp card basically. I would highly recommend getting the Zoom Pass for those of you who do plan on visiting, because that line that we ended up waiting yesterday took about an hour. We lined up at about 7:29, didn't get in till about 8:30. So it was kind of just a long line to just wait for. And the other thing that I would highly suggest, not even suggest, required, is that this place is cash only. Like the unfortunate thing is once we got to the ticket booth, they're like, sorry, it's cash only. And there's an ATM in the back, and the fact that we were already waiting for an hour, I had to step out of line, get into this ATM line for another 20 minutes, made the experience really, really uneventful, let's put it that way. I was already kind of annoyed at the fact that there are no signs that says cash only. There are nothing on the website that says you have to, pay with cash only. It's like, come on guys, put some signs that says cash only. Make this a little bit more pleasant for the people who are going, because we saw some people who are like, same experience. You go there, you wait, you're getting ready to pay, Come to find out, it's cash only. So people have to go ahead and step out of line, have their partners or whatever wait in line, go into the ATM line again, and just get some cash out. It really sucks. But once you get in, the first thing you're gonna notice is all of these tents, all these food, and all these people. It's kind of like a city fair, like those county fairs that you go to, like the deep fried, donuts, deep fried cheese. It's kind of like that, but think of it like more of an Asian version of that. Different types of food, different types of cuisines, snacks, desserts, and just everything that sounds good, right? And I want to say that this does appeal more to like the younger crowds, or people who are like in college and high school, because we got some of our things. We got the deep squid. We got like the this little flat like squid pancake thing that was like really crunchy. It's like a potato chip almost, but like in a squid flavor. We got a couple of other things like this like Thai like seafood egg tart type of thing, which was really good. But at some point, I have to say, we just started getting a really like gross inside, because for us, me and Tiffany, we like to eat pretty healthy, and eating stuff like this on a regular basis kind of just made us feel a little gross afterwards. So we're like, we can't really do this anymore. Like, we're not that. We're not. That's not us for us. That's not us anymore, eating like the fried foods and the unhealthy oils and all that. But it's a really cool experience if you guys are looking to try something, especially if you guys are here on the weekends. Again, food prices can be a little bit pricey. You're on average spending about 10 to 15 Canadian dollars for like one little small appetizer dish. So for both of us, I took out 100 Canadian dollars, conversion to about $80 USD. And we still had about 30 Canadian dollars left over. So again, depending on how much you want to spend, how much you guys want to try, I think 100 Canadian dollars is definitely it's enough to basically cover all the things that you want to try. And of course, they also have things for the children as well, for the kids, for like a little bit of like area where you could play games, win prizes, win something for the girlfriend, right? They have things like you could do for like shopping, like cell phone accessories, earrings, clothing, things like that. So it's really like a state fair type of thing, but they happen again from Friday all up to Sunday, and it's only evenings only. Again, guys, one more time, cash only. Cannot stress that enough. Cash only. And I also want to say, get cash outside of the ATM, because once you get inside, there are about 2 or 3 ATMs, and the line, they also had long, exorbitant lines. It's not worth it. Let's just put it that way. So get cash outside at the bank or ATM or something like that. So anyways, that's pretty much it for our Vancouver Island trip. It was a really fun experience, and I want to say that planning this, I realized we should have stayed at least one night at a random campground somewhere, because it's not something you think about, right? When you go on vacation, you don't think about camping. You just think about, where am I going to stay, what hotel, what Airbnb can I get on a budget? And that's the thing with Vancouver, is like a lot of the Airbnbs, a lot of the booking hotels are kind of expensive, and some of them aren't as nice, right? You get what you pay for. But if you guys do plan on doing a Vancouver Island trip, especially now the fact that summer is coming, I would highly recommend spending at least one of these one of the nights just getting a campground somewhere. Just get your car, put your tents in the car, and just do a little bit of car camping, because that was really cool. It was a really cool experience to see that, like places like Englishman River Falls, lower Qualicum Falls. They have areas where you can actually go camp and just hang out for the rest of the day, or even just pull over somewhere at Lower Myra Falls and just get a campsite somewhere, just really cool experience, I would say, that I wish we could have done. So anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. I'll see you guys in my next adventure. Take care.